The sound of wrapping paper tearing was the only noise in the room. No Christmas music, no laughter, just the quiet crinkle as my daughter, Lila, carefully peeled back the edges of her gift. Her small fingers moved slowly like she was unwrapping something sacred. For a second, she smiled, that hopeful kind of smile kids get when they still believe in magic. Then she lifted the lid. Her face changed. Confusion first, then something sharper, hurt. The box was empty. No toy, no note, just bare cardboard. My stomach dropped. Maybe it was a mistake. Maybe the gift fell out. But before I could speak, I heard him. My father, Garrett, let out a sharp, cold laugh from his armchair. "Kids like her shouldn't expect anything," he said, swirling his whiskey. "World's got enough entitled brats already." Lila froze. Her hand stayed inside the box like she was waiting for something to appear. My chest burned. I wanted to scream, to grab her and leave, but my voice was stuck. Then my sister Margot snorted from the couch. "Guess she takes after her mom, always waiting for handouts." I clenched my fists. Lila wasn't crying, but her chin trembled. She looked at me, not for help, just to see if she should pretend it. Didn't hurt. And in that moment, I hated myself for bringing her here, for hoping, just once, my family could be different. The room was silent except for the ticking of the clock. Lila folded the box flap shut, her hands shaking. Then, softly, she whispered, "I got you a gift too, Grandpa." Everyone turned. Garrett smirked. "Oh, this'll be good." Lila reached into her coat pocket and pulled out a folded piece of paper. She held it out to him with both hands, and I knew, right then, something was about to change. Garrett took the paper with a scoff, unfolding it lazily while still holding his drink. But then his fingers stiffened. His smirk vanished. The room felt colder, like all the air had been sucked out. I leaned forward, trying to see what Layla had drawn. But before I could, Garrett stood up so fast his chair screeched. His face was pale, almost scared. Without a word, he walked out of the room, leaving his whiskey glass sweating on the side table. Margot blinked. What the hell was that? Lila just stood there, quiet. I knelt beside her. "Sweetheart, what did you give him?" She looked up at me, her big eyes serious. "A picture of Grandma." My throat tightened. My mother had died 5 years ago, back when Lila was just a toddler. She wouldn't even remember her. "How did you—" Lila shrugged. "You showed me photos. I drew her smiling. And I wrote that I miss her too." Margot rolled her eyes. "Oh, please. Dad doesn't care about that sappy—" "Shut up, Margot." My voice came out sharper than I meant. For once, she actually listened. The rest of the night was tense. Garrett never came back. We left early the next morning, my mother pressing a foil-wrapped plate of cookies into my hands like nothing had happened. Lila stayed quiet the whole drive home, staring out the window. 4 days later, a small package arrived. No return address, just Lila's name in shaky handwriting. Inside was an old music box, the same one my mother used to keep on her dresser. When Lila opened it, the tune was faint but unmistakable. "Somewhere over the rainbow." There was a note. Only 3 words. "You were right." Lila clutched the music box to her chest like it was the most precious thing in the world. That night, I found her asleep with it still in her arms, the faint melody barely audible through her quiet snores. I gently wound it again, just to hear the tune properly, the same one Mom used to play when I couldn't sleep as a child. The next morning, I noticed something I'd missed before. Carved into the bottom of the music box were initials: G+E, Garrett, and Eleanor. My parents' names. My fingers traced the worn grooves as memories flooded back. Dad actually smiling, actually laughing before the grief hardened him. Margot called that afternoon. "You need to come over," she said, her voice uncharacteristically urgent. Dad's different. When we arrived, the house felt strange, warmer. The curtains were open for once, sunlight streaming in. And there, on the coffee table, sat Lila's. Drawing in a simple frame, Garrett emerged from the kitchen holding 2 mugs of cocoa. He hesitated when he saw us, then held one out to Lila. "Made it the way your grandma used to," he muttered. The mug trembled slightly in his grip. Lila took it carefully. "With extra marshmallows?" A ghost of a smile touched his lips. "Yeah, Extra marshmallows." Margot and I exchanged stunned looks as he sat down next to Lila, his movements stiff but deliberate. When she accidentally spilled some cocoa, instead of snapping, he just grabbed a napkin and said, "Easy there, kiddo." I felt like I was watching a stranger. Or maybe, for the first time in decades, I was finally seeing my father again. Over the next few weeks, small changes kept appearing. The whiskey bottle in the cabinet gathered dust. Old photo albums migrated from storage to the living room shelves. One Sunday, we found Garrett teaching Lila how to plant tulip bulbs, Mom's favorite flowers, in the long-neglected garden. Then came the day Margot pulled me aside, her eyes red. "He's cleaning out the attic," she whispered. "Found all of Mom's things. He asked if I wanted any of her jewelry. I hadn't seen my sister cry since we were kids." The tough-as-nails Margot, who mocked sentimentality, now clutched a pearl necklace like it was a lifeline. That evening, as I helped Lila with homework at the kitchen table, Garrett placed a small box in front of me. Inside was Mom's engagement ring. "She would have wanted you to have this," he said, his voice rough, "for when you're ready again." The kindness in his words shattered me. All the years of harshness, the cruel comments after my divorce, the way he'd treated Lila that first Christmas, it all welled up at once. "Why now?" I choked out. "After all this time?" He looked at Lila, who was pretending not to listen, as she colored. "She reminded me," he said simply. "That little artist of yours. She drew Eleanor exactly how she used to look at me, like I was worth something." The admission hung in the air between us, fragile as the music box's melody. For the first time in my adult life, I reached for my father's hand. He held on tight. Spring arrived, and with it came an unexpected invitation. Garrett wanted to host Easter dinner. The man who hadn't celebrated a holiday properly in years now insisted on cooking a ham and hiding plastic eggs in the yard. The morning of, Lila and I arrived early to help. I found my father in the kitchen, wrestling with pie crust while flour dusted his sweater. "Need a hand?" I asked. He grunted, the familiar sound almost comforting now, and pushed the rolling pin toward me. As we worked, an old photo on the fridge caught my eye. Mom laughing at this very table, Garrett's arm around her shoulders. "Remember," he said suddenly, "how she used to burn every batch of cookies?" I snorted. "And blame the oven every time." "Stubborn as a mule, that woman." His voice held a warmth I hadn't heard in decades. Then, quieter. "I forgot how much I missed that." Lila burst in then, clutching a handful of dandelions. "For the table, Grandpa." He took them with exaggerated solemnity. "The finest centerpiece we've ever had." As I watched him place the weeds in Mom's old vase, something settled inside me. This wasn't forgiveness exactly. The years of hurt didn't vanish overnight. But maybe, like the tulips pushing through cold earth, we were finally growing toward the light. The morning of Mom's birthday, I woke to find Lila's bed empty. Panic shot through me until I spotted the note on her pillow. "Gone to Grandpa's. Don't worry." I arrived to find them sitting by the grave, Lila chattering away while Garrett listened, quietly. They'd planted new flowers and left a drawing, Lila's latest masterpiece of Grandma surrounded by tulips. "Morning, sleepyhead," Garrett teased as I approached. The old sarcasm was there, but softer now, tempered with affection. Lila held up a cookie. "We brought breakfast. Grandpa says they're almost as bad as Grandma's." I bit into the slightly charged treat, the taste transporting me back to childhood. "Nope," I said with my mouth full. Hers were definitely worse. Garrett's laugh startled a bird from a nearby tree. It was a rusty sound, like a door hinge long unused, but it was real. As we packed up to leave, he hesitated, then pulled something from his pocket. A small key. "For the music box," he explained, "in case it ever needs fixing. Your mother, she'd want you to keep it playing." I took the key, but what I really held was something far more precious, a piece of my father I thought was lost forever. That summer, we painted the old shed together, Lila splattering more on herself than the walls, Garrett pretending to grumble about the mess while secretly smiling. Margot even joined in, her designer jeans ruined by paint splotches. One evening, as fireflies danced in the yard, I found Garrett alone on the porch. He was holding Mom's photo, his thumb tracing her face. "She'd be proud of you," I said quietly. He shook his head. "I don't know about that." "I do?" I sat beside him. "And she'd love seeing you with Lila." A long silence stretched between us, comfortable now instead of strained. Finally, he spoke, his voice barely above a whisper. After Eleanor, I thought if I stopped loving anything, it wouldn't hurt as much when it was gone." The admission hung in the twilight. I reached for his hand, the way Lila had reached for him that first Christmas with her gift. Inside, the music box played its faint melody. Lila had wound it before bed, as she did every night. Through the window, I could see her dancing with Margot, both of them laughing as they stepped on each other's toes. Garrett squeezed my fingers. "Turns out," he said, "that's no way to live." And for the first time in a very long time, we sat together, in the gathering dark, not as strangers bound by blood, but as a family, broken, imperfect, but finally healing.